Okay, forgive the choppiness. Just getting started here. This is Mozart Magic Flute. I had that left over from a previous live stream. I was talking to Lynn and Fakeologist, along with a number of callers. Very interesting callers on that show. It was a trifecta of fakeology. If you missed it, I will provide a link, or maybe I'll upload the entire episode. I didn't put it on the main channel because Lynn is a virulent anti-V word, and I didn't want to risk my channel. Although it was a really interesting conversation. She got it started on the topic of Freemasonry and secret societies, etc. So anyway, there's that. I was just over at John the Bond's Late Night Truth Lounge, which followed, and they had a bit of a quiz show. And so if you're coming from over there, thanks for joining. I realize you've been bouncing around all day. It's been a succession of live streams. All right, let's see here. Let's go on to theminds.com/Infinite Plane Society. Lots to talk about. And I want to kind of pick up on the last week. Now, one more thing. This is a little choppy and stuff, but I am making improvements. I'm making plans to pick up a new computer, something much faster, probably within the next month. So just bear with me for the choppiness. This was just a go-between. We had an abrupt crash, and then I was able to replace it very quickly, but there's going to be a few upgrades. The IPS Insider number 1 has already been sent out and sold out. I'll order new copies with the issue number 2, which I'm still composing. But there's quite a lot of content, and there's still time. So you have until Valentine's Day to get your articles in if you want to submit. Plain Decoded, did you analyze the halftime show? You know, I pre-analyzed it, and I did pretty much accurately guess the certain qualities of the wardrobe, the rose cross thing, and we did have some callers bring some stuff up about it. And they had the game over at the end in the audience. They had the big words, game over. Everything else was dark. And someone told me that was a reference to the movie called War Games, so the one with Matthew Broderick. And the triangle, square, circle, and cross comes from Squid Games. And then game over, I don't know. People have read into it. They think, oh, this was the calling out of the elite and the predators in the entertainment industry, and it's all going down. I don't know. Last I checked, Ye was trying to get a free Diddy movement going. And Ye's no longer on X. He left. Don't know why. He was typing in all caps last I checked. And then he was promoting his shop with a Super Bowl ad. And it was like a clothing line because, he does fashion. But by the time people went to his shop, the only item there was a shirt, item number HH. You all know what that means. Honk, honk, like the truckers in Canada. Oh, when they're honking, honk, honk, it means HH. It means Hail Hitler. Anyway, the shirt had a swastika on it. And Shopify pulled the plug on his shop. So Nick Fuentes is bawling, he's crying about it. It's like, oh, Ye got canceled because the you-know-who's own Shopify. It's like, no, you got to read the terms of service. And I have a hard time understanding why a billionaire would be using some drop shipping website, outsourcing all the stuff to a third party anyway. He's a billionaire. You could hire somebody with a warehouse to manage all these orders. You could pre-order them. It doesn't have to be print on demand from a company that can pull the plug on an order at any time. It just seems abysmally stupid. So I don't know. It seems to me it was meant to go down this way, possibly. What's up, Pippi Langstruff? Ted Stryker says, got my copies of the Insider, good refresh course to read for a long-time listener, great for someone new. Thank you. And they got in contact with me, the printer, and the template they supplied to Canva has a little too much margin. So that's being corrected, but they gave me a different one to use. So when I order the new copies, it was a test run. I didn't want to order 100. I just went with 50 because I didn't want to risk there being some error or something I could correct. So it's been corrected, and all future issues will be displaying the correct margins. Not that it looked bad. It looked frameable, if anything. But I want the entire space used, obviously. All right, let's see. We're joined here also by Sleepy Random, Roxy W, Ears Up, Diana South. All right, great. So let's just go ahead and comb through my notes again. There's quite a bit going on. Fake viral conspiracies on X overrun U.S. politics. This is just a continuation on a theme that we've been covering since Musk purchased Twitter. The theme is, and I've said this from the beginning, that when the WHO said the disease that's going to take us out is the disease X, it's a placeholder name. And I said disease X, watch it turn out to be a mind virus. And X will be the vector. And that's exactly what's happening here. So now you have some story. This was put out on Semaphore. Fake viral conspiracies on X overrun U.S. politics. And even conspiracy theorist, Pizzagator, Jack Posobiec, had to comment on this. He said, I don't know about this whistleblower. We've been seeing a lot of false flag docs lately, but it feels like a setup for a buffalo run. So a buffalo run is what we call truther bait. A buffalo run is a term for information used to discredit the people who fall for it. And Don Bongino suggested this might be a buffalo run. I like that term, although I use truther bait. And by truther bait, I mean they put information out there for the conspiracy theorists to run with so they look stupid later. And it works. Look at QAnon. That was all bait. And it's an interesting psychology. It's kind of reverse psychology. Like these people, they don't trust the news. And so if you take the information you want them to believe and you repackage it like it's contrarian, like it's a breadcrumb, like they're not meant to know, and you let them discover it, they'll believe it even harder. And then you still control what they believe. And you turn them into useful idiots, useful stooges. You turn them into heels. So the anti-position is controlled by the owners of the pro-position. That's why I say you have to be anti-anti. There's no reason to fall for it. Not at this stage. So Jack Posobiec is pointing out that there are efforts to discredit truthers, and these are called buffalo runs. He says they want you to run with this stuff, just like these deep state accounts that promote these liberal talking points because they want it later to discredit you. It's just ironic coming from Jack Posobiec because he was really the source of Pizzagate. I mean, he's high up in this PSYOP, which is actually against the truthers. Always has been. The order, Thinkerbell, if you want to order a copy of The Insider, there's a link. It's Inciter, INCITER, like a pyromaniac. Inciter.shop. Inciter.shop. And whenever the new issues come out, I always send it out in a newsletter. But I'll order increasingly larger supplies each time, and eventually we'll do back orders. My plan long-term, after maybe 6 issues, is to stock back issues in Amazon, which is, I have an Amazon fulfillment of space for that. So that will be happening. Joined by Adaptivia from Twitch. Thanks for joining. Okay, so now what we're talking about here is this. We're talking about truther bait. Someone named Josh Shapiro. He was being interviewed on a podcast by Sean Ryan. And during the podcast, he shared some document that seemed to implicate a number of individuals. Well, here it is. No, it was Governor Josh Shapiro was implicated. Governor Josh Shapiro was implicated in the Trump assassination attempt. So what someone had done is they had filed some criminal complaint. It wasn't notarized, but it made it to a website. They claimed to be a whistleblower, and it started the rumor that this particular governor signed off or was behind the Trump assassination attempt. And it went pretty viral, and even Jack Posobiec had to kind of put the brakes on it. Okay, moving on. There's the usual just nonsense on X I try not to get into. Maybe I'll get into that one. Let's look at this, the voodoo thing. Eagles fans spotted doing witchcraft at the Super Bowl on a voodoo doll of Patrick Mahomes. So this person has a voodoo doll with a jersey, number 15 on it, and she was spotted stabbing it into stabbing it repeatedly, looking at him. But anyway, it says here, Eagles fans' voodoo ritual sparks a debate. Now, I don't think the debate was on whether or not it affected the outcome, but it might have been onto the area of, was this some kind of appropriation? Let's take a look. During Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans, an Eagles fan was caught on camera appearing to do a ritual with the doll resembling the Kansas City Chiefs quarterback. It gained traction online as this was one of his worst games. Okay. Leading to speculation about the ritual's impact. The Eagles clinched a victory 40-22. Many attributed it to the fans' actions. Others talked about cultural appropriation of voodoo. Well, strictly speaking, I think voodoo dolls originated in Europe. And they weren't voodoo dolls, but they were these poppets. But it all gets kind of mixed up. And I don't know if the practitioners care about that kind of stuff. If you're using little dolls to harm people at a distance, I don't think you care about political correctness. But this was a viral video and a trending thing I thought was kind of interesting. Candace Owens is looked at a lot these days as sort of a truth teller. And I just want to point out how any alt media personality that appears to be whistleblowing and sabotaging their career for the truth is likely a plant. I mean, show me one that talks about fakery to any great extent. To her credit, Candace Owens has talked about Apollo 11 being faked. However, they only go so far as to talk about events from decades ago. None of them will talk about the Challenger explosion. None of them will talk about the ISS, the ones that are happening right now that implicate all the different space agencies, Roscosmos, the ESA, JAXA. They're all implicated in massive fraud against all mankind. This is why I say there's no governments, plural. There's just one government. Anyway, she's suggesting that, quote, the Jews working in the World Trade Tower were warned about the 9/11 attack and didn't go to work that day. So this should tell you everything you need to know. Instead of talking about the media fakery, the fact that it was a psyop, she plays into the alt-right scapegoat narrative. This is so stale. This is a very stale take. And if you follow her logic, you totally efface the fact that all of the media globally is manipulated centrally. This type of propagandist, in my view, is here to maintain the illusion of divisions. That way no one recognizes the monolithic nature of our government, of our system of control. And she may not even know. I mean, a lot of these people could just be insulated, Trumans in their Truman shows. Hubba asks, is it only shipped in the USA? No. If you want to get copies of the IPS Insider, you have to go to eBay, timosmond.art. If you go to the eBay shop, you can order it there. And that's because eBay has a system where I send it to a domestic hub and I don't pay international prices to send it to somebody anywhere. So you could be out there in Antarctica watching the 24-hour sun and vaping. You can be in Australia, wherever you are. And I'm also going to be sending out press passes soon. A number of you have asked about this. The newest batch, the latest design, will be arriving here in studio in about a week, if not sooner. Okay, let's continue. We're talking about, let me just go ahead and bring this up really quick. This is just a thing that I tend to avoid because I try to avoid looking at X. I use X as a resource, but there's so much engagement bait, rage bait, and it's obviously just a scam. It's scammy. So, for example, the White Rabbit podcast. Now, anybody pushing White Rabbit, rabbit hole, that's just CIA misinformation. Whatever you want to call it. This is the intel agencies leading you astray. And this tweet has received 121,000 views. So just translate that into money. How much money was this particular post worth? And what the person asks is, when I was a child, the sun was yellow. Now it's white. Okay, now this is a common thing that you hear, not from environmentalists, But you hear this from conspiracy theorists who believe that there has been some engineering of the weather and climate and the sun is no longer yellow. This is a common thing, and I'm looking at other people's comments. Like Charlie Ravillo said, they weakened the magnetosphere. The poles are going to flip. The elite know this, and they're building bunkers, trying to go to Mars. Okay. Bill Sobel says, I remember. And he says, do you remember from your childhood how the sun was always yellow? And then he has pictures of Raisin Bran, where it has a yellow sun. Andy says, yeah, I noticed that for a while. It's not good. A white sun, and our skies are filled with poisonous chemicals every day. What a peep. Without a peep, nothing could go. This is